I think where it comes to mental illness specifically, there is some evidence that particularly for young people and some other people in society, that in actual fact film and television depictions of mental illness may be even more important for how people form their attitudes and their views about mental illness than the news media and other different types of media are.
One of the major issues with the media generally is that they're about creating news rather than just reporting it. So I think many people with mental illness are stigmatised by the media. What the press unfortunately do is something might happen, and so they'll emblazon the headlines with killer on the loose or madman doing this, and it undoes all the positive work.
When it comes to things that I guess are good practice or things that we'd like to see in the media, I think portrayals that really can delve into, I guess, the real life experience of mental illness. Anyone who's lived with a mental illness or cares for someone with a mental illness knows that there's a whole range of things that happen which are emotional, which are dramatic, and which are at times funny. And in many ways, those things are the real drama and the real interesting storylines.
I think that the media has the potential to assist in reducing stigma and having a community that is far more informed. I mean, people have a perception, for example, that people with mental illness are dangerous. The research worldwide is very clear. People with mental illness are not dangerous. They're more likely to harm themselves than they are other people.
People in the community are often have their views or their attitudes influenced by what they pick up around them. You never know when yourself or somebody close to you is going to be impacted by mental illness. And so it's really something that is so important for all of us in the community to have an awareness of. Mental illness is not a minority issue in Australia, with 1 in 5 people being affected in any one year directly, and with all of those people hopefully having friends, family, work colleagues who care about them in their lives. I think mental illness is an issue that we now recognise is important for 100% of Australians to know about.
So we're working with the media to make sure that they're reporting and portraying the illness well. Through that, we're also working with the script writers and producers to make sure that the soap operas and dramas and film scripts are accurately and sensitively written, so that they're portraying a much more honest portrayal of what it is like to live with a mental illness. And then, of course, through our Stigma Watch programme, we hold the media to account when they get it wrong.
From my time at Stigma Watch, it's been encouraging at least to see the light bulb go on to some level with journalists and the media, that, you know, that it is similar to physical disabilities and the like. It is an issue which can cause offence and should be reported in a responsible manner.
There's a whole range of different parts of Mindframe. So Mindframe works with news media, with the mental health sector, with police and courts, and with the training of journalism students and public relations students. And all of that work is particularly around news media, I guess, or factual portrayal of both mental illness and suicide.
The Sane Media Centre is set up to improve the way in which mental illness and suicide are portrayed in the mass media. And what it means is every day the staff of the Media Centre, who are journalists, by the way, they're answering queries from the media, providing information to them, accurate stats and facts, also providing them names of people who'd be good to be interviewed, and really importantly, helping to access people who've got that lived experience of mental illness to speak with the media. So we're really getting a very true and honest portrayal and humanising the issue.
When there are, headlines that are hurtful, people do ring in to us for support, and we try and provide that to them. We certainly encourage people to allow us to advocate for them if they want. If a particular person has been the subject of the press article, occasionally we've persuaded them to allow us to advocate for them and take them at it to the Australian Press Council.
If it's a radio program, then the producers are always the best people to go to there. Or television, then it would be a letter written directly to the station. Dealing with the media, I would really encourage if someone has been asked to do an interview or is looking at, I guess, talking to the media in regards to an issue, I'd really encourage them to look at the St Australia website. Our media centre does have facts and information which can help individuals, I guess, have a read and think of how the process works in regards to thinking of your key messages and exactly what you want to say to a journalist and what you don't want to cover as well.
Likewise, if a family member is being interviewed, it's only respectful to talk with the person who has the illness before agreeing to do that interview, because there's quite a lot at stake. If people are readily identified as having mental illness, it could, in some instances, end up in discriminatory behaviour at work, for example. And I think that people have to be very mindful of those consequences. Certainly if it's media work with photographs or on film, that then is obviously going to follow that someone's going to be more readily identified, and also to realise that you don't have to answer every question that's asked of you. I think often media can be in their rush and hurry to get an interview done. They may be a bit pushy, not all of them, some are really very sensitive, but it's important to say, well, no, I prefer not to answer that question, and to be very clear about that.
You don't tell people on the train everything about your life, so then therefore there's certain things that you hold to yourself. I don't even tell, my family everything that's going on in my life. So there's certain things that I think it's very prudent to at least keep certain details to yourself. What they say to a journalist isn't a one-on-one conversation. It is really, the journalist is a line of communication to everyone in the community. So that's going to be your greengrocer, your butcher, your baker, that kind of thing. So that is really something important to remember, and maybe, if not so much the participating in the interview, then I guess limiting what the details that you provide.
Also, when people, expose themselves like that, they're often talking about trauma. And so it can also rejig the trauma, so that, they might need lots of support afterwards. They also sometimes regret doing it once they've done it, even if they haven't had any negative feedback from anybody. They sometimes regret it. And I think that you need to have a very clear and transparent conversation with people about all the fors and against. But I think the most important thing is to offer people support.
I'm a really big advocate of people with mental illness being part of the media process, because what we know is that personal stories and truthful and authentic representations about what it's like with mental illness is going to be much better at undoing stigma and misinformation than professionals like me talking to the community or talking to the media.
Because there's nothing more powerful to reduce stigma than to hear directly from people living with a mental illness, so that the vast majority of the community who see or hear that interview will see a terrific person, someone who's got one head, two eyes, two arms, who's got much, much more in common with everyone than different. And I think we've really got to stress that, the commonality rather than the differences.